Before time itself was forged, there were three mysterious beings beyond mortal comprehension. Known as the Primordials, they existed outside of any human understanding. These beings had an eternal war that caused the creation of the Multiverse. Their war was an everlasting struggle that resulted in the destruction of two of the Primordials. Known today as Gruumsh, the god of destruction, and Ord, the god of creation, their struggle enfeebled them, leaving them in a weakened state. Demoted to mere godhood, Gruumsh and Ord lost significant power, leaving them unable to rival the other primordial. Raveon, the weaver of the universe and master of fate, is the only primordial power left. He is said to reside in the seat of fate somewhere in the middle of the three mortal planes of existence. The ancient world of Valoria was a vast supercontinent, and is still relatively unknown in its precise geography. For ages, as man evolved and the different mortal races came to be, the gods ruled over the plane of Valoria, exerting their influence onto the mortal realms. Some ruled with an iron fist, while others were more kind and forgiving. Thrawn, the god of titans and giants, ruled over Titan's rise and begun a plot that would change Valoria forever. His plot was to ascend to that of a primordial and gain true, limitless power. He recruited 5 gods to join him on his quest to rule the multiverse. Tiamat, the 5-headed dragon goddess, only agreed to join his plot so that she could also ascend to the level of a primordial. While this was happening, the Great War had just begun. In the human lands, King Tyrus Lordrum II was their leader and general. Cambrius Exod and his men of short stature fought and rebelled against the Mad King Andar I. The Elven King's second son, Andavari Andar, was highly opposed to the war. Dalrut Valorous, alongside the Dragon Riders, led the noble Dragonborn and his tiefling through the war together, and they fought in the Great War of Borders. Athreos Adair, a half-elven priest, wanted to end the war, hoping to save as many lives as possible. Something about this struck a chord with Ord, the god of creation. He saw something in Athreos. A man born of human and elven descent who fought simply to end the war. Countless struggles commenced, and during the peak of the war was an event that would mark the very beginning of history. The Exodus was an unforgettable moment. During the war on the shore of Titan's Rise, the 4 leaders' armies met and clashed. Thrawn sprung his plot, and the mountain man of giants struck down the realm, shattering it forever changing the landscape. In a single blow, millions were dead. Tiamat, the five-headed dragon goddess, emerged from the volcano known as Black Cloud Mountain atop Titan's Rise. She began to terrorize the various nations that had already been sundered. In a brief moment during the war, Athreos felt at peace, knowing his death was soon. But he heard a voice. It was the voice of Ord.
My son, you have the power to save this world before it is too late, if only you give your life to me.
Athreos was quite calm, and knew that no matter what he could do, this was the only choice. A golden book appeared in his hands, glowing brighter than the sun itself. As the five gods rained terror down upon the land, Athreos read and read and read each page more powerfully than the last. A golden wave emerged from the book. Holy cracks started to form around his body. Reading the book was clearly destroying him. Hope not being lost, it manifested itself in the form of a man in blue robes with gold hummingbirds around him. He appeared to Athreos and said to the dying half-elf, "Fret not, sir, for hope is never lost as long as you are not alone." Thrawn's titan fist loomed over them in the background, sinking into the plane like a speeding bullet, casting pure darkness as it blocked out the sun above. When it suddenly came to a halt, contact with something, but not the earth. It was the man in blue robes from before. Somehow, he was holding back the fist with his hands. With all his might, he threw back Thrawn's fist into the sky and began to ascend. This is when Athreos understood that this was no mere man. It was the act of a god. The man's appearance transformed suddenly into not that of the man with blue robes from before, but to that of a giant platinum dragon soaring through the sky. Lightning flowed from his eyes like water. Tiamat was furious, and Thrawn was stunned. Athreos quickly began to read again. Each word destroyed his sense of self. With each letter, the cracks grew larger and larger. His body nearly fully white energy at this point, when suddenly a hand grasped his shoulder. It was the hand of Tyrus Lordrum II, the leader of the humans and Athreos' oldest friend. He smiled and stood triumphantly as the white celestial energy flowed from his shoulder onto his hand. "Hello, old friend," Tyrus said stoically. Athreos continued to read, getting farther this time than last. Their pain was shared but slightly easier to endure, but eventually the power from this book was too much, and Ord's energy would have been the death of them. If not for the dwarvish leader Cambrius Exod and his halfling brother, the world as we know it may never have existed. They clasped hands as Cambrius reached for Athreos' other shoulder. Together, their efforts were still not enough to contain all of the celestial energy that was pouring through them, but their actions would inspire many more. Next was Lore of Valoria and the Dragonborn leader of the Dragon Riders. Then, out of surprise to everyone, the son of the Mad King Andar I and Davari joined in the effort. Unknown to the others, he was a kind, forgiving elf who understood that everyone here just wanted to make the world a better place. More people congregated around Athreos, holding hands and taking in all of the energy, until finally, at least one member of every mortal race was sharing Athreos' burden. With power and passion, Athreos read and read the chapters, and eventually he finished and slammed the book with conviction. A large blast of celestial energy, powerful enough to reform a sundered world, raced across the continents. Ord's presence had reformed along with his physical body, and thus Ord, charged with the energy from the Book of Exalted Deeds, cast out the 5 gods who attempted to sunder the world. While the war would continue, for this brief period of time, the mortal races of Valoria had shared a moment of grief and understanding. Thrawn was banished to the plane of Abaland, another mortal realm along the material plane. Tiamat is presumably dead, and while not much is known about the gods who helped Thrawn, there are some historical theories with concrete evidence. It is believed that Bane, the Lord of Darkness, was banished to the realm of Faerun, also known as the Forgotten Realms. Athreos and the world of Valoria would be forever altered by this moment. Even to this day, physical evidence of the Exodus still exists along the Shattered Sea. Against the will of a tyrant, a unity will always pierce through the darkness.